Welcome back to Fantasy Bricks and welcome to episode 1 of building Erebor. In this series I'm going to be building the epic Battle of Five Armies scene from the third Hobbit film. I'll take you every step of the way as Erebor transforms from a couple of empty base plates into huge mountains, the ruined city of Dale, and a towering Erebor as the centrepiece. I've been building MOCs for about 7 years now, and I've been planning this MOC for about 5 years, so over that time I've been gradually collecting hundreds of minifigures, thousands of parts, and hopefully the skills to pull off this ambitious project. We're going to begin with a time lapse of me building the first section of Erebor, which you can see a sneak preview of behind me here, and then we'll break up the time lapses with a quick look at some of the minifigures that I'm going to be using in this display, and then we'll get into a time lapse of me building a couple of landscape base plates, and then we'll finish out with a dramatic edit of the MOC so far. So let's get into all that and more right now, guys. So here I'm using filler brick, and that's basically just any colour of brick which is not visible in the MOC, and that is a way that I can make my parts last longer and ultimately build bigger displays. So I only actually order parts if I absolutely have to, and instead I try to be creative with the parts I have. So this was the moment when I started to run out of sanguine bricks, so I had a look at my collection and I found a whole bag of 2x2 sanguine slopes, so I used these for the bottom section of the wall, and that actually ended up looking better than if I'd used bricks. So most of the Erebor MOCs which I've seen online have been made out of either light or dark grey, so it's quite important for me to try and build out of sanguine, as that is the colour that's closest to the Erebor in the films. I think the reason that most people have gone with grey is because that up until a few years ago, sanguine was really sought after. So basically I remember getting a job lot of bricks and just having a small selection of sanguine parts. Luckily LEGO started putting out sanguine slopes, bricks and plates on their pick-a-brick walls in store, and that meant that collectors could get hold of sanguine a lot easier. Hopefully I'll be visiting a couple of LEGO stores to try and pick up some sanguine bricks. If they don't have any in there, I'll probably try eBay and then Britlink as a final resort, because Britlink is the most expensive way to buy parts. So as promised, I'm going to be showing you the minifigures. So at first we've got the golden armoured elves. I've got two variations, one with a dark red cloak and one without. Next up we've got a modified Legolas with a golden helmet, and then on the left there we've got a Mirkwood elf archer with a golden helmet and golden arms. And I'm not too sure about this variant, so let me know if you have an opinion on that, if you think it looks good and if it fits with the others. Next up we've got some custom Lake Town minifigures which I made when I was a kid, and I actually think these look pretty good and they're quite like the people that we see in the film. And next up we've got Day 9foot's army of dwarves, and the dwarf on the left actually looks quite accurate to how they do in the film, but I only managed to make about 15 of him, but I've also got about 15 of the Gimli minifigure, so I threw in them as well to bulk out the dwarf numbers. And finally we've got the orcs. First up we've got the Uruk-hai, then we've got the Mordor orc, and I've got a couple of different variants of this guy. Then we've got the Gundabor orc, and then we've got the Goblin and also some of the Moria orcs. I've got about 200 men, elves and dwarves, and about 300 orcs, so in total that'll be a battle between 500 minifigures, which should be pretty epic. Just before we get into the final time lapse, I'm going to walk you through the layout for the build and also talk in a little more depth about what I'm planning. So here we've got the MOC laid out. Here's some burps to represent the big mountain, which is going to be over here. In that gap there, we're going to have a big frozen waterfall, and on top of that is where Thorin and Azog are going to be fighting. In the gap between the two burps here is going to be Erebor itself. And then over here, this stuff just represents the ruined city of Dale. That's going to be in this side of the MOC. And then in the centre here, over these 6 base plates, it's going to be the battle. Unfortunately, the interior of Erebor will have to be light grey, so that's the only way I can afford to do it. If I was building this MOC on a bigger scale, it would have been really cool to have had a whole chambers of Erebor with Smaug and his pile of gold. So we're now going to move on to the 2 landscape base plates. So those of you who followed my last build series, Endor, will know that I put a real emphasis on making the base plates as detailed as possible. And here I'm actually just doing the opposite. I'm literally just covering the base plates with enough plates and adding a little bit of detail, as I found that when building a MOC with a battle in, you spend ages making a really detailed landscape and then you can't see any of it anyway because it's full of figures. So here I'm adding some Technic bricks and pins to be able to slot the base plates together, which makes it a lot easier for transportation. So now we're going to get into a dramatic edit of the MOC so far. Thanks for watching episode 1 of Building Erebor. So I think we've got about 1/8 of the MOC done in this episode, although I'm not quite sure as the mountains are definitely going to take a lot of time as they're going to be really tall. So the build is 3 32x32 base plates by 6 32x32 base plates. And the reason that I've gone so small is because I'm actually building for a competition on Facebook, and that was the biggest that you were allowed to build. It's a competition to build a MOC of a battle between men, dwarves, elves and orcs, and I thought that was a perfect opportunity to build this build that I'd always wanted to do. The deadline for the competition is the 30th of June, so that means that you guys are going to be getting weekly updates of this build and it'll all be finished by the end of June. If you have any comments, suggestions or ideas, please comment down below because this is a collaborative process and I'd really like to get your guys' thoughts on the display so far, and if you have any suggestions please let me know. Please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm hoping to get to 500 subscribers by the end of this series, so hopefully you can help me out with that. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one or another one of my build series.